Welcome back to Chase Shot First on the Cheap Seats Network. My name is Chase Brown, and I host the program that you're listening to. Now, if that makes you happy, that makes me happy. And if it doesn't make you happy, lighten up. Everyone else is having a good time. Look around. Why can't you? Episode number 12 of the program. It's been great. We're here. We're still doing it every week, guys. And you coming on this journey with me has been the most exciting and rewarding experience. I truly, truly do appreciate it. And I appreciate all of the other people on the Cheap Seats Network who have been consistent with their shows as well. And the audience members who have been going along with them too. But today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I've been doing Chase Shot First by my lonesome for 11 episodes. But today I wanted to bring a friend on to the show. Brady Leunis has been a friend of mine for a long time. We've known each other since elementary school. We've played sports together, gone to see movies together, the whole shebang. Today he joins me on Chase Shot First, and we have a really great discussion. We keep things in the Halloween vein since this is our Halloween episode. We talk a lot about horror thriller movies, trick-or-treating, some of our favorite nostalgic stuff, and a whole lot more. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Brady Leunis. I'll see you guys at the end. So we've had a lot of conversations and we've talked a lot about just like our general enjoyment of the horror thriller genre, scary movies kind of this season. Were you always interested in horror thriller movies, or is this was this a new thing for you?
So it probably started when I was about like 5 years old.
Okay.
My parents were watching a scary movie. It was called Signs with Mel Gibson.
Signs,
about
yeah,
aliens,
yeah.
old school one. And that was one movie where they didn't make me go to my room when they turned it on. So I stayed out in the living room and watched it with them.
Yeah.
Scared the crap out of me. It honestly kind of scarred me for a couple years. Like, I was nervous to go to bed. I didn't know if aliens were real or not back then. It was just a scary movie, how they portrayed everything in that.
Yeah, I know exactly
So
what you mean.
after I kind of, yeah, it was just one of those movies where it leaves like a little scar in your head about what could happen. And I was 5 years old too, so I didn't know any better. So there was a couple years span where I didn't want to watch scary movies. I didn't want to deal with anything scary.
Yeah.
But then probably like around middle school, I think that was when the first Conjuring came out.
Yeah.
And I went to go see that in the movie theater, and I knew it was gonna be scary, and I still had like that little PTSD of being scared back when I was so young. I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. Like, it looks good. The trailer looked good. I want to see what happens. So I was watching it, and it scared me again. I was in a movie that I was young. I didn't know what was real, what wasn't, if this could be a real thing, and I got like a kind of like an adrenaline rush from it too.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, I was scared, but I was excited. Like, I had a enjoyable experience watching it, even though it was like a scary scenario. And ever since then, I'm like, maybe I'll go see another one. Like, there was so many scary movies back in the day I would watch, and every time I would watch it, like, it's literally like an adrenaline rush for me, kind of. Because you're on the edge of your seat, put yourself into that scenario of like, what would happen if I was in that situation? How would I react? What would happen to me in certain points of that nature? And it just stuck with me ever since. And now I just love watching scary movies and putting myself in that scenario and see if I could get out of it. And hey, you never know if something crazy happens when you're older. Like you're in a house by yourself. Yeah, you're not going to stick around when there's a ghost following you. You're going to get out of there and
we're
not look back.
We're not looking around corners. We're not going in the attic.
No, we're not locking ourselves in the closet with the demon or something right outside.
I had
you gotta be smarter than that.
I had a similar kind of situation to you because I was like my dad showed me like a lot of weird movies growing up. Not all of them were like scary, but a lot of them were kind of like eclectic and weird stuff, like Powder and like the Rocky Dennis movie, Mask, just like really weird movies. And
Yeah.
then eventually I saw Poltergeist one day. And I had a similar situation with you with Signs, because Signs has those really creepy like images of the aliens walking by at like the Mexican birthday party,
Right.
and you're just like, fuck, like that's the scariest, like that's the scariest thing of all
Oh yeah,
time.
that was the worst scene I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and then for me, Poltergeist, it's like the little girl at the television. It's like the wind blowing while like the small
Mhm.
woman is like doing the chants, and that shit like freaked me the fuck out. So it was the same thing for me. And I told a story on the podcast last week about how I went to see Saw 3 in theaters, and I ran out within the first 6 minutes because of that Donnie Wahlberg scene, and like went over to watch the Santa Claus 3. So like, but it was,
Oh
I
my
think it was when
god.
I saw like, I think it was like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 I saw in theaters, and I
Mhm.
was like with a big crowd, and then like the Paranormal Activity movies and shit like that, and I was like, this is fun. Like you said, it's just an adrenaline rush. Like
Yeah,
you get all those people into a small theater, and everyone's just scared, jumping throughout. It's a lot of fucking fun, man. Yeah.
they're making it like more real life scenario of like
Right.
what you could fall into, which
Hmm.
that's what I think is like truly scary
Yeah.
because that could happen. It's not like a monster like the Blob or something
Yeah.
going down into a city and sucking it up. Like that's
That's
kind
a
of fiction, but
That's a really good point, because I mean, like you said with the Conjuring movies too, we're seeing a big trend of movies that are, this is something that we want you to think about when you're going back to your
mhm,
house, when you're at home and you're walking around corners and you're going to the fridge late at night, stuff like that. Rather than
right,
there's movies that we appreciate, like the slasher movies, or like those campier movies like The
mhm,
Blob, where it's fun and they're fun to watch, but I'm not really going to be too scared of them, or I'm not going to be keeping that in the
right.
back of my head. But shit, when you're talking about like cults and just demonic stuff and possession and things that can happen at home, that stuff is what really gets to us now.
Yeah, 100%. That's the stuff that like still kind of scares me now when I watch, and I'm 25 years old. Right.
Well, man, let's see what else really scares the people. I put out some polls on Instagram asking people Halloween and scary movie related questions, just to try to get a gauge of how the people out there are feeling. So let's take a look at these. Let's talk about some of the answers here, and let's give our own answers.
Yeah,
So
let's do it.
the first question I have here, what is let's say the worst franchise? People answered was the Leprechaun series. This was actually what people
I was
answered the most.
Yeah, I was gonna say the two like I that came to my mind were the Leprechaun and Chucky. Honestly,
Yeah.
like those are just movies where they make a ton of like with the Leprechaun, like they tried to make the Leprechaun look more scary than it actually was.
Right.
It wasn't like a monster movie. Like I mean, you can't really have like a 3 foot monster coming at you on St. Patty's Day.
Exactly.
It ain't gonna work like
Yeah,
that. And
it's a
that's the
very
same with
specific
Chucky. Like
monster. Right.
yeah, like you're gonna have a possessed doll run around at me with a knife. Like come on now. Like if I see a doll coming at me, I'm gonna punt that motherfucker.
Yeah, I
Like
feel
I'm
like
not dealing with that.
I feel like that's not. I feel like I'm getting out of any situation that Chucky could possibly put me into.
Yeah,
If we're being
like
serious about
you think I'm not gonna outrun a baby doll? Like get out of here.
it. I'm just gonna, if anything, I'm just gonna stand on like a table, and I'll be good.
Yes, you know, okay, we'll put one of those little fences up, those little gates you have for your
Yeah.
toddlers. Like, come on,
We're
you
good.
you just you just stop them right there. Go about your day.
Some other answers that people said, maybe another controversial answer here. I think you'll think someone answered that The Conjuring was they think is one of the worst horror franchises. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that one hits me a little bit hard because that's my favorite franchise.
Oh yeah. Have you
So
seen all of the spin-offs and all of the things that come with it?
all of them, and there's probably some out there that people, or I know for one that people probably didn't even think was a part of it that came out probably about three years ago. Uh, there's a bunch of movies in it. I do agree,
Hmm.
but what I think makes it better is that yeah, they all kind of go around the same premise of like a demonic spirit taking possession of like an idol or something.
Yeah.
But if you look at the universe as a whole, there's there's a ton of movies. There's La La Reina, The
Mm.
Nun, Conjuring 1 and 2, uh, Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home. Those ones I could kind of see how it gets a little bit tedious, but I think James Wan, the director of all those movies, does a great job not putting the movies in order because they obviously didn't come out in order, but leaving Easter eggs in each movie that tie to another movie. And I think that's written great. I love how, yeah, it is getting, there's a lot that are made that go off each other, but they're telling a giant story of how the timeline of how this like evil spirit has progressed and what it's doing to like families or groups or anything like that. Like I think I that's my favorite series. That kind of hits hard.
I mean, you make good points for it because these are movies that don't come out in order and haven't been like a chronological thing, but they've come out in this order where people are still getting so much from them. Like you said, like they're just picking up on, oh, that's what that was about in the Conjuring movie, or that's what
Mhm.
that was about in the Annabelle movie. There's a lot of that stacks up on top of each other. So you're right, it is a really big and successful franchise because of that, and James Wan does a great job doing it. That's a really good answer. Yeah.
Yeah, those are one like I that's like a movie where like it doesn't scare me, but I love watching it because like I look for those Easter eggs. Like if you're looking at The Conjuring 2, spoiler here, like the name of the demonic person is Valak, and there will be multiple instances throughout the movie that has that name spelled in the background. That
Mm.
I don't know how I picked up on it the first time I saw it. I remember seeing it just randomly. I saw it like in a window seal in like an early part of the movie, and then when it comes to the end of the movie, they're like the name of this devil's Valak, and I'm like,
Oh
why does that
wow.
name look familiar? And then like I watched it again. I looked at that scene. I'm like, oh my god, the name's spelled in the back. She's carving it in the Bible, or
Hmm.
just like stuff like that. Like he does a great job of like laying those Easter eggs out for you to look for in the background instead of focusing on what kind of is happening throughout the movie.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, what's your favorite scary movie? Like, if we have to talk about like the movie that it doesn't have to be the movie that scares you the most, but maybe when you think of like your go-to horror thriller movie, what do you think of?
So I think I was thinking about this one for a while, and like I've seen so many. Um, the main one I'd have to say is Hereditary that we saw in theaters together. It had everything. It had scary. It had the sense of you kind of putting yourself into that family. Hit you on your heartstrings hard at some situations.
Oh
Like
yeah.
when we saw that movie, it was a smaller crowd, so you didn't get that full experience of
Hmm.
like everyone being scared with you. But like they hit everything perfect. They had the jump scares
Yeah.
timed perfectly. There weren't many of them, but like when they happened, like they got you.
Hmm.
They had a good storyline. Like they brought everything together at the end with like the mom and the grandma and how
Oh yeah.
they kind of just like set up like they set up their kids for the worst with what they did in their past, and then it
Hmm.
all comes together at the end with the brother going up to the treehouse and getting sucked into it. And
Right.
and what I think was great even about that is that they left it at that.
Hmm.
Like they left the son up there. You don't know what happened to him,
Yeah.
and that's what I think makes like a good, true scary movie too. Is not the director giving the audience the ending they want, but giving the
Exactly.
audience the ending that of what could happen, like
Right.
leaving you on that cliffhanger. Because the scariest uh, form of movies is you're up to your imagination. I think.
Yeah.
like not showing you what it is. Like the what was the production company, A24,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
great
Yep.
great company with movies like that.
Yeah,
They
they do a good
left you
job.
with like a cliffhanger, like what happened? What's he gonna do now? What happened to the mom? Like she was possessed last time we saw her, but is
Mm-hmm.
she back with the cult and her grandma? Like they do a great job of like leaving you on that cliffhanger, on that edge of like, well, what it could this could have happened or that could have happened, and getting you in your own head and scaring you that way.
And it's also really interesting because they have all of those elements in it, but if you strip it down and if you take like the cult element out of it and you take like the
Mhm.
the daughter dying and like getting decapitated and you take
Oh,
all that like
jeez.
if you take all of that stuff out of it, it's just a regular family drama about a grandma
Yeah.
passing and then this family dealing with the grandma passing and all of the turmoil that comes with losing a family member and your family
Mhm.
members not like loving you the way they should and things like that. It's just a really good
Right.
drama,
Right.
but all of those elements on top of it just make it like 10 times better. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, like the mom and the son hate each other.
Right.
The dad's caught in the middle, doesn't know whose side to pick. The
Hmm.
daughter, like she's a little weird,
Right.
and the son kind of neglects her a little bit, and the
Hmm.
mother hates like doesn't like him for doing that. Like it's a family drama tied into a cult movie, and like they hit every cylinder of what could get you going as as a watcher.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. A lot of people agree. Some people answered Hereditary here. Halloween 1978 was what people answered the most, the original Halloween. I think that's probably mine too. I go back and forth between that and the first Scream movie. I really love those two movies.
Hmm.
They're just very comfortable for me. All right, so for a second, let's get off of our favorite scary stuff. What about like the nostalgic stuff? Like when you think, man, I love this as a kid growing up on Halloween or watching it. What's like that nostalgic like Halloween movie that you think about?
So it's gonna be a real old one, and I think it was off of Disney, the Halloween Town series.
Oh yeah, good
I
call.
I I loved that when I was little. Like I don't know why, it was just like the the graphics of it were cool. Like
Hmm.
the people that they had, like the characters they had in it were like just cool. Like you had that skeleton taxi driver. That
Yeah,
was the homie back then.
yeah,
He was the man.
yeah.
Like
100%.
taking the kid and the daughter from the that paranormal like
Yeah.
witch world back to normal. Like he was the dude. And I might have been the taxi driver that took Will Smith to Bel Air. I mean, you never
It's
know.
just the same guy.
It was cool. Man had a dice in the mirror.
You're right. That's a great series. I'm partial to the second one, Calabar's Revenge, but they're all pretty. That's a
Oh
really
yeah.
solid series of movies, and I like the Disney Channel original Halloween because they had quite a bit. I don't know if you
Oh
remember
yeah.
Phantom of the Megaplex. That's one that I really liked.
Oh,
That one was
that
pretty
was a
pretty
great
cool.
one.
And then they had Don't Look Under the Bed, which was another
Yeah.
really really strange one. They had like a lot of in the early 2000s and late 90s. They had some strange movies coming on the Disney Channel original.
That one actually scared me when I was younger too. That don't look under the bed. Like until like the end, like because that's something you could relate to as a kid. Like Disney did a great job with that because you're young. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the one thing you don't want to hear? Don't look under your own bed. Your
Yeah.
bed's your place of comfort, and you can't look under it. Like that was a great one back in the day.
Yeah, it really was. And they really gave you because it was like once you went under the bed, it was like the worst case scenario. So it just put the
Yeah.
that worst thing in our heads. So we're just like, yeah, this is terrible. I'm never looking under my bed.
Like what's under my bed now? Like is this under my bed? Like I don't want to look under it. I don't want to find out. It's like telling you not to look at the tooth fairy when you lose your tooth. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, you want me not to pay attention? Good luck.
all right.
Do you have a favorite like character, like a favorite villain maybe from any like Halloween movies?
Oh.
A lot of people answered Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, Ghostface
Mhm.
from Scream, Pennywise from It is an answer we didn't get a lot of, but that's probably I would probably take Pennywise from It.
Yeah, I think I would too. Like I watched I I've seen bits and pieces of the original, but
Hmm.
I watched the two new ones that they made recently, and like they I think like that's just a sick twisted guy, but like because there's not many movies with that kind of person, like
Yeah, and there's some
it
really terrifying
it
scenes
really
throughout
makes
it.
them like yeah. And I mean, I always hated clowns when I was younger. Not even because of the It series. I just hated clowns in
Oh,
general.
really?
So like, when watching those now, like it still like gets me a little bit. Like that's definitely a good good villain to like slash hate.
That's something I didn't know about you that you didn't like clowns when you were younger. That's very interesting.
Uh, Dude, I was scarred. My dentist back in the day he loved clowns, so he had pictures of them all over his like waiting room in the office. I was
Oh no.
like why'd you do it? Like you got kids coming in here. Your favorite movie must be it or something.
That's so insensitive for him to just have clowns through.
I know. I hated going to the dentist.
You just hate it even more. It's just like people just like, yeah, I hate going to the dentist. They always put stuff in my teeth. It's like I don't mind that part, but my dentist
It's
my
the
dentist has
waiting to get
clowns.
in.
It's terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying.
Let's go to that question actually. Something that used to scare you. You would say clowns. Or did you have any other fears growing up?
I mean, I think one that a lot of people could agree on. If not, if you don't agree with it, then I don't know, I might be worried about you. But walking up from the basement at night with the lights off,
Oh yeah,
like
dude.
that still scares me. That's still like I can't. Our laundry, our wash and dryers in the basement of our house now.
Yeah.
If if it gets dark out, I'm not doing laundry. I'm getting it the next morning. I'm not going down there at night. There's always that thing, thinking someone's behind you walking up those stairs. I'm running.
100%. There's no chance. As soon as those lights cut off, someone's grabbing me.
Oh, I gotta take like three flashlights down there. I gotta put myself in glow sticks to be safe.
Someone answered pool drains.
Pool
That
drains,
pool drains used to scare them. Yeah, which I understand. I guess
like a bathtub or like a legit
I think
pool.
like a pool. I think maybe like a public pool. Maybe like a public pool drain that would like
Oh,
suck you
okay,
in if you
that
get
makes
to.
sense.
Yeah, I think that would make
that
sense.
that could be terrifying if it starts taking the water out with you.
Well, there's that. I think it's a Final Destination movie where the dude gets like sucked into the pool drain,
Okay.
and then his like guts are like evacuated through his ass.
You know what? I thought I remember like seeing something about that, but that definitely rings a bell. That's definitely a Final Destination
Yeah,
scenario that they
that's a
would play
fun
out.
franchise.
They make some outrageous deaths in that movie.
Yeah, I'll say that they made me afraid of. Like I think everyone has this fear too. Just driving behind log trucks.
With the Highway to Hell playing on the radio.
Absolutely, yes, 100%.
Oh
Terrifying.
my God, dude! That one, and I forget which one it was in, but there's this guy on one of the Final Destinations fell from like his apartment in the city or whatever, laying on his
Oh,
back, and those ladders that are on the side of the buildings come
yeah.
flying down and get him right in his eyes. Like, oh, those two scenes stick out too vividly in my head,
That's.
and I
I think
saw
that
them
might be
probably
this.
15 years ago.
I think that might be the same movie. Honestly, it's either the. It's one of the first few. But that series too, that has just like a lot of crazy deaths that you just the
Oh,
tanning bed death, the roller coaster stuff,
oh,
all terrible.
oh my God. Yeah, and they're so explicit with their showing too. Like it's so gory. Like
Yeah.
if you like gory stuff, like I like it, but I can't watch a lot of it because it gets too much for me. But like if you like that stuff, those Final Destination movies are home base for you.
Yeah, right up, right, 100%. Our last poll that we actually put out here, uh, just to kind of think back a little bit. When did you stop trick or treating?
That's a good question. I actually had to think about this one for a while because like I was trying to think. I think like fourth or fifth grade, honestly,
Okay.
is when I stopped. Like I was in a neighborhood when I was younger where I was like one of the older kids at my point.
Mm-hmm.
So like everyone that would come there was like really young, and
Yeah.
my brother, my brother was probably like in kindergarten, first grade at the time. So like it would be me, him, and my mom. We would go, and I just remember like passing when I'm dressed up as like a football player. I didn't know what to be. Like that's like the age when you stop the costumes at Walmart.
Yeah.
So like I was like going around, I'm like, oh, these kids are young. Like I'm the oldest one here. Like, Mom, I think I'm gonna sit with my dad next year and hand out candy. I don't know if I could do this anymore. I feel too old.
We might have to get out of this one. Were you into it when you were younger? Like, do you remember like a favorite costume or anything like that?
When I was really young, like probably 5, 6 years old, I was always a Power Ranger. Those were my favorite. That was my favorite show when I was young, and I always had to go as like either the Green or Red Ranger every time.
Yes, dude. Like multiple years.
Oh, dude, they're the best costumes. The best costumes. Little jumpsuit,
Yeah.
all one color with little padding on the front.
100%.
You got the mask with it.
Yeah, yeah. You're just in disguise. They're 100% the best. And then there's like always that like shitty kid who's like in your class who also has like the Power Ranger costume. But like,
Oh, if you're the same color as me, we're enemies.
yeah, we're fighting.
Can't have two of the same color.
One of us has to die. If we're both Tommy, one of us has to die. That's just it. You can be Jason.
We're standing on the desk and we're dueling right now. Do you have the play toy gun that goes with it? I don't think so.
Are you a light force ranger? Because I'm a mighty morphin ranger.
Yeah. You can't. You're that speed ranger. You're a little car. I'm a T-Rex.
I was definitely a Power Ranger for a couple of years during my youths. I think my favorite costume was I took a sabbatical from trick or treating for a short period of time. I came back in the seventh grade, and I think, or the seventh or eighth grade, and that was my last year officially. Um,
Yeah.
so I was
What
Jesus.
was
I was Black Jesus that year.
I think I remember that costume.
Yeah, and that
I think I remember that one. What was your favorite candy you got trick or treating? There's always that one candy that
yeah.
one family would give out that was the best.
See, when I lived in Ohio, shout out to Ohio, shout out to Columbus, Ohio. There were neighbors that would make like their own candies, and it was like a small neighborhood,
Really?
so it was nice and it was like safe and it was like okay to do. But I was always kind of interested in the stuff that you wouldn't see like on shelves all the time. Like if you could like
That's
Hershey
fair.
bars are
Yeah.
like just like fine because you can like always get a Hershey bar somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, Same thing with like Kit Kats and like all that good stuff. I always really had appreciation for the hamburger gummies.
Ooh, like those like Krusty Krab ones.
Yeah, they were great. They were great. They were hamburgers and they were gummies, and you could eat them as a
It's
whole or
perfect
pull them
too, cause
apart.
like yeah, like and you can kind of get chocolate out when you have so much candy from so many houses. Like you need a little switch up right there.
Yeah, and then you exactly. So you go over to the savory, and it's good. It's just good business.
100%.
And I love it every time. I also am a big fan of any Crunch bar. If you give me a Crunch bar, I'm good to go.
Oh, it's game over.
What about you? Do you
That's
have like
that's
your
satisfying.
do you have like your need to have this is my favorite Halloween candy?
So anything that would be like the oversized like size bar or something like that, like get a little extra, can't beat it.
Yeah.
I loved like the like either the I think it was like the Take Five or like those Reese's on steroids where it's like a Reese's bar with like pretzels
Yes,
and
yes,
all
yes,
different
yes.
stuff in it, like kind of get a multitude of snacks in there.
Hmm.
There was one thing I hated, and I would get it every year,
What's that?
was those popcorn balls. You remember those?
Yes, dude. Yes.
Those were the most annoying thing ever
Yes.
because there was always a house in my neighborhood that would give you like a bag of pretzels or a bag of chips to like
Sure.
even out that salty and sweet. So I
Yeah.
loved that. And whenever I would get like one of those bags, I would think like, or when I was like taking out my candy and I felt one of those bags, I'm like, oh, dope, like I got pretzels or like Doritos or something, and I would open it, or I would get it out and be that popcorn ball, and it was messy. It never tasted. It was like stale popcorn, not
They
even
were
butter.
always
I don't know
different
what
too.
I don't. Yeah, like I don't know who made that or why somebody would hand it out to kids. Like, no, that was I hated that more than anything on trick or treat. I think that same year when I stopped, I got like 4 or 5 of them, and I was like, okay, people in my neighborhood don't know anymore. Like, I can't deal with this.
You have to assume. I think when we're kids, we look at like it's. I think it's so funny how we look at like Halloween and trick or treating and the season as we're kids, and then it just changes so much as we get older. Like we just focus on
Mhm.
completely different shit, and I just like you have to wonder like are the adults in the neighborhood that are giving popcorn balls, are they fucking with us? Like, do they know? Like what?
Yeah.
Like, are they?
Right.
Do they know what they're
Right.
doing to us as kids? Like, are they just trying to? Are they laughing about this behind closed doors? Like,
Like, oh, they wanted a Kit Kat bar. No, they're getting a ball of popcorn,
yeah.
stale popcorn, no butter. It's gonna be a mess. Your parents are gonna get mad at you for making a mess. Like, oh, I just ruined this kid's night.
You just have to assume most of those people are out there doing that.
Oh my god. Yeah, like now it's kind of like when you bring that up too. Like I'm on the other side of it now. So like where I live out in Pittsburgh, we're kind of like in a neighborhood. So like me and my roommates, we're trying to think like we remind ourselves like shit. Like, we gotta get candy because there's probably gonna be trick or treaters out there. We can't be the house that doesn't give candy because you always hated that house that
Yeah,
never
that's 100%
was
true.
there, didn't give out candy.
Yeah.
You exonate that house for the rest of your life. So like we can't be that house. We gotta like figure out what to do here.
Yeah, you got to go get some. You got to go get some massive bags from like Walgreens of candies, and because you cannot be the house, because people remember that shit. Like people
Oh yeah.
remember the house that did not give out candy. They always
Mhm.
remember.
Oh, I still remember the house in my neighborhood back when I was like 5 years old. I never liked those people. They never were there on Halloween.
So we made their lives a living hell for the rest of the year.
Ding dong ditch them every time in the fall.
All right, Brady. So we've reached the portion of the episode where I like to give out a recommendation to the people. This can be a recommendation of a movie, TV show, book, album, anything that you've seen out there recently that you really enjoyed that you think other people would enjoy. So I'm gonna give the pleasure over to you to give the recommendation this week. So what's out there, Brady? What should the people go out there and see immediately? What do you got?
Well, Chase, I don't know. I don't know if your audience has seen it yet or heard of it yet. Probably heard of it. I'm gonna say Money Heist.
No one has ever hit that hard. Not even in New York, London, or Monte Carlo. So if my picture needs to be in the news again, at least it'll be for the greatest heist in history.
And every family in this country will be asking, what are they doing now?
What are we robbing?
The Royal Mint of Spain. It's absolutely imperative that the police don't have any idea what we're doing. But be very
It's a Netflix original. It's one of those 4 movies with the English dub over. Uh, I started watching during quarantine and got hooked. It's a good, intense drama, uh, just a different style of a show that kind of makes you think like how is this scenario going to play out? Like how are you going to get out of this scenario? How are they going to avoid getting caught this way? Stuff. It's a really good show, I think, in my opinion. And what's nice about it is I think the last season they're making is coming out December 3rd.
Okay.
So you have plenty of time to, if you haven't seen it before, you have plenty of time to catch up on it. I think there's about 4 seasons, but it's just an intense show. There's drama, there's love, there's funny, there's happy parts too. Like it hits every base in emotion, and it's just addicting. Once I started watching it, I binged it. I binged the first like 3 seasons. They were out in like 2 days. I couldn't
Oh
I
wow.
couldn't get enough of it. It's those shows, yeah.
You're definitely selling me on it. So is this? it seems to be like I just watched The Sopranos. I just got done watching that show, and it seems like that show is kind of a jumping off point to seeing. Like we really like watching shows that we can see criminals kind of do their thing
Hmm.
up front. Like that's like kind of like the anti-hero or the guy we're not really supposed to root for, but that would just like at the end
Hmm.
of the day that they're doing either criminal or bad things, but it is the most interesting thing to watch. So Money Heist sounds like it has a
Right.
lot of that.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those shows where at the beginning you're like, do I really want to root for the bad group of people that are about to steal money from the Bank of Spain?
Mm,
And then as the series evolves and you start getting a better understanding of why they're doing it and how they got to that point, you kind of you kind of think like, oh yeah, I'm definitely on this group's side. Like
right.
I don't want to spoil anything
Mm,
without giving some of like the main plots away, but like you really it makes you really like kind of switch sides. Like if it was in real life and there was a group of people, say, trying to get into like the big bank in any big city in the U.S.
mm,
and you're following it on the news, you probably most likely want them to get caught.
right.
But when there's a story behind it and a reason why they're doing it, trying to expose certain people and groups, almost like an activist type thing. It it makes you wanna root for the underdog per se,
Cool, man.
and like you get a good that show you get like a good understanding of every main character in that group. Like you get
Mm,
their background. Like every episode's almost like tailored to one person. You get to see who they
nice.
were before, why they're doing this. Like it really is a show that hits all the cylinders. It will leave you with no questions. Everything is answered. Like it's a very good all around show to watch.
That sounds cool, man. And that sounds like a little bit. I like what you said about like you get to learn about everybody in the group because sometimes shows fall short on that. You don't really get to
Mhm.
everybody doesn't get fleshed out. It's really like the main two or three people. But I think Orange is the New Black is another show that did this really well, at least in the beginning of the series, where you just get to see other people's stories. Like in that situation, you get to see why a lot of the women ended up in prison and things like that. So
Mhm.
it just makes a lot of sense to be able to flush out those characters and show everyone's story because when things go
Right.
down, when shit hits the fan, that's when you start really rooting for everybody.
Exactly.
So that's awesome, man. Anything else coming up or that you've seen that you can think about?
Yeah, so in spirit of Halloween, next week, the 29th, there's two movies coming out. One of them, an addition to the paranormal series
Yeah.
that we talked about earlier. That one, I mean, I got to see it. That one, I've always been a paranormal fan, so that one's on the list to see. And then another one that I saw the trailer for it so long ago, and they're now finally releasing it, is called Antlers.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, it looks like one of those movies where it's more of like a mythical style creature,
Sure.
but there looks to be a deeper story behind it with like the main kid in the movie that they've been showing in the trailer and
Mm-hmm.
this teacher trying to help him. So it's definitely one I want to see. It looks like it's going to be scary. It looks like it's going to be a lot of action, drama packed kind of movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one that's been on my radar for a while, and they're finally releasing it, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah, man. That sounds the same for me because when I saw the trailer, I was kind of in the same boat to where I was like, this is like something I feel like I could turn up for and like really, really
Hmm.
enjoy. And especially like probably a theater experience with like a good, nice crowd. So I'm right there with
Hmm.
you,
Oh
man.
yeah,
I'm right there with you on Antlers. I think that'll be an awesome, awesome movie.
yeah, and it's only gonna be in theaters too. So like if you're missing that adrenaline of watching it with a bunch of people and you're all scared at the same time, I feel like that's gonna be a good movie to bring you back to normal.
Yeah, yeah. And just before we get out of here, I do have a question about that. How have you been taking advantage of watching movies at home when they come out on like HBO Max or certain streaming services? Have you been taking advantage of doing that rather than going out to the theater?
100%. Some movies like offer on HBO Max. I'll definitely, if it's on there, I'll watch it for sure because you have the subscription, but like you don't have to have the burden of going out buying a ticket.
Right.
Like any like COVID protocols you can avoid.
True.
Peacock, I think, is another service. They have Halloween Kills, a new Halloween on it, and same with that new Paranormal Activity movie is on Paramount Plus. So it's very nice. I've also actually, which I haven't, this is like the first year I've actually started doing it. Me and my girlfriend have actually been going to the drive-ins a lot, and I think that's like a business that might be coming up because it follows all the COVID protocols now that we have to kind of live with.
Yeah, that's true.
You're in your own car. You're only with the people you come with. So like all the distancing is perfect, and it's just it's a good fun thing to do at night. You're there. You could watch 2 movies for the price of one if you want to stay there that long. I know we'll always go see like one of the new movies coming out. Like we saw Candyman out there.
Oh, wow.
We saw Old when it came out there, and it's just a fun experience. So like I never really did when I was younger, and like looking at it now, like it's a good time, and it beats like sitting, if you don't like sitting in like a movie theater with like a bunch of people so close to you, like it's a perfect thing where you could just like do your own thing, sit in your own car, even kind of like camp out if you really want to.
That's something I have never really even thought about too much. I've never been to a drive-in. So that is something that I need to definitely tap into. I've been wanting to go for so long. They just built a new one where we're from, or rebuilt the one that was previously standing. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go check out the times, and because it seems like you said, the optimal way to watch a movie anymore. You're in your own car, you're with your own people, and you get to enjoy the movie however you like. And, and it's really great. So I think that's a really, really good, that's very insightful. Hopefully we do see a big come up with drive-in theaters. That'd be great.
Yeah. The only warning I will give you, and we had this issue the first time we went, is I hope your car has a good battery, because if you're sitting there with your car on through the radio, it might die. We had a little instance where it died. We had to like call somebody for help. But they have radios there you can rent.
Okay.
The car radio does give you the surround sound though that you want.
Right.
But no, it's an underrated service that I never really used when I was younger, and looking at it now, like I love doing it. Good time. It's going to be tough here a little bit with it getting colder out, but summers when movies come out, good event, a good thing to do in the weekends.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, I mean, I really appreciate you coming on this episode of Chase Shot First, Brady. You were actually the first Chase Shot First guest. I didn't want to tell you that beforehand. I didn't want to put all the pressure in the world on you. But thanks
that's
for
a good
coming
thing you
on,
did
man.
I appreciate it. I mean, we always have these conversations when we're back at home together, so it's glad to do it on your platform. I know you're doing big things, so I appreciate it.
Always doing big things, and it's always bigger and better with you by my side, Brady. So thanks a lot for being here, man. I appreciate it.
You're the man, Chase.
I really hope you enjoyed Brady Leunis on this episode of Chase Shot First. Like I told him, he was the first guest, so it was a great time just getting to rap with him about all this stuff that we talk about regularly on the program. So thanks for checking this episode out, guys. We're gonna have more episodes like this with guests in the future. Of course, I'll be doing most of the episodes by myself, but it's always good to bring in people when we can. So thanks for doing that. It's really cooking up and heating up over here on the Cheap Seats Network. So I'm gonna stay in the kitchen because it feels good over here. Why don't you join us in the kitchen? But if the kitchen's not your place, just join us in the cheap seats. There's plenty of room. Have a good night, everybody.